Welcome to the podcast, Learn English Through Life, exploring emotions, connections, and the English language.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Learn English Through Life. Today, we're tackling a delicate but essential topic, how to move on after a breakup. Breakups can be extremely painful, but they can also be opportunities for growth. To discuss this, I have the pleasure of welcoming Amélie, who has gone through a particularly challenging experience. Thank you for being with us, Amélie.
Hello, Michael. Thank you for having me. It's important for me to share my story because I know how overwhelming these moments can be. I hope to bring a little hope and support to those who need it.
Amélie, you went through a breakup shortly after the birth of your child. Can you tell us more about it? What was the hardest part for you?
Yes, it was an extremely difficult time. I had imagined a happy family life, and then everything fell apart. The hardest part for me was the feeling of abandonment and fear of the future. I found myself alone with my baby, not knowing where to start to rebuild my life.
Thank you for your honesty, Amélie. Today, we're going to explore 5 steps that can help in overcoming a breakup. Could you share with us the key things that helped you move forward?
The first thing I learned was that I had to accept my emotions, even the ones that hurt. At first, I tried to be strong, especially for my son. I thought that crying or feeling angry was a sign of weakness, but in reality, it was the opposite. I realized that it was normal to cry, to feel fear, or even guilt. These are human emotions, and suppressing them only makes the burden heavier. One day, I picked up a notebook and wrote down everything I was feeling without any filter. I allowed myself to be honest with myself, my fears, my sadness, my anger, everything that overwhelmed me. Over the days, I realized that putting my thoughts on paper helped me make sense of them. They weren't just uncontrollable waves of emotion. They were parts of me that needed to be acknowledged to find peace. And this process allowed me to free myself, little by little, every day.
What you're describing is so important, Amélie. Many people in similar situations try to run away from their emotions. They distract themselves with work, social media, or even self-destructive behaviors. But ignoring emotions is like trying to cover a wound without treating it. It eventually gets infected. Accepting your feelings, whether positive or negative, is the first step toward healing. It means saying to yourself, yes, I'm angry, yes, I'm sad, and that's okay. These emotions are not our enemies. They're here to teach us something. They tell us what matters to us, what hurts us, and what we need to move forward. And for some people, like you, writing is a powerful tool. For others, it might be talking to a friend, a therapist, or even just allowing themselves a moment of solitude to cry. What's important is not to run away from what you're feeling.
Exactly, Michael. I also realized that the pain wasn't permanent. There were days when I thought, I'll never get through this. But by accepting my emotions instead of fighting them, they started to lose their intensity. I could breathe a little more freely every day. It was a slow process, but every step mattered. What helped me a lot was to stop judging myself. Often we ask ourselves, why do I still feel this way? Why can't I move on? But the truth is, there's no set timeline for healing. You have to be patient with yourself and remember that every emotion has its place and purpose.
Yes, it's essential to give yourself permission to feel. It's a crucial step in moving forward. And as you said, the process can be slow, but it's worth it. I think the viewers who are going through difficult times can find inspiration in your experience. For those watching, if you're feeling sadness, anger, or even despair, remember that it's normal. You're not alone. Take a moment to listen to yourself, to acknowledge what you're feeling, and to remind yourself that these emotions will eventually ease. Accepting your emotions is already a big step toward a more peaceful life.
And it's so liberating. When you stop fighting what you're feeling, you start to regain the energy to rebuild yourself. It's like instead of swimming against the current, you decide to float and let yourself be carried. It's not giving up. It's a way to regain your strength to keep going.
The second step is taking care of yourself. Amélie, I know this period of your life was particularly challenging, but you also managed to find ways to refocus on yourself. How did you take care of yourself despite everything?
Taking care of myself wasn't easy at first. I had just given birth. My baby needed all my attention, and I felt mentally and physically exhausted. But I realized something important. If I didn't take care of myself, I wouldn't be able to be there for my son. So, little by little, I started incorporating moments of self-care into my daily routine. I focused on simple but powerful things: eating well, staying hydrated, and taking daily walks with my baby. Those moments outside, breathing fresh air, were incredibly calming. Nature has such a healing effect. Even if it was just 10 or 15 minutes, it helped me reconnect with myself and find some peace.
These are small actions, but they make a big difference, don't they?
Absolutely. Another thing that helped me a lot was practicing gratitude. Every evening before bed, I wrote down 3 positive things in a notebook. They weren't necessarily big things, but small moments that brought light to my day. My son's smile, an encouraging message from a friend, or simply enjoying a warm cup of tea in silence. It taught me to focus on what was going well instead of being trapped in what wasn't.
That's such a powerful exercise. Taking care of yourself isn't just about your body, it's also about your mind. Sometimes we underestimate the impact of small positive moments in our daily lives. These moments of gratitude, rest, or simple pleasure can truly transform our mindset.
Exactly. And what's important is not feeling guilty about taking these moments for yourself. When you're going through a tough time, you might feel like you should always be doing more or being stronger. But in reality, taking care of yourself is an act of courage and rebuilding. It's not selfish, it's necessary.
That's true, and I think many of our viewers can take inspiration from that. Taking care of yourself means giving yourself permission to slow down, rest, and refocus. Amélie, if you had to give advice to someone going through a difficult time and unsure of where to start in taking care of themselves, what would you say?
I would say, start small. You don't need to change everything all at once. Choose one thing you love, or that brings you comfort, and make it a priority, even if it's just for a few minutes a day. It could be a walk, listening to comforting music, or simply sitting quietly with a cup of tea. The key is to remember that you deserve these moments of well-being.
That's such beautiful advice. Taking care of yourself is also a way of reminding yourself that you have value and that you deserve to be treated kindly, especially by yourself. Thank you, Amélie, for sharing such an inspiring perspective.
Thank you, Michael. If I can add one thing, it's that taking care of yourself is a journey, not a destination. Every little effort counts, and over time, these actions build up and make all the difference.
The third step, Amélie, is surrounding yourself with support. Going through a difficult time like a breakup can sometimes make you feel completely alone. How did you find support during that period?
At first, I isolated myself. I felt ashamed of what had happened, and I thought no one could truly understand what I was going through. But very quickly, I realized that carrying this weight alone wasn't the solution. So, I turned to my family. My mother was my greatest pillar. She supported me without asking questions. She was simply there, whether to listen or to help with my son.
Family support can be so precious in these moments, but I know that it's not always easy to ask for help. How did you take that step?
It's true, it's not easy. Sometimes we're afraid of being a burden or showing our vulnerabilities. But I realized that asking for help isn't a sign of weakness. It's an act of courage. I started with small things: a phone call to a close friend, lunch with my sister. These moments reminded me that I wasn't alone, and that there were people who cared about me.
And beyond your family and friends, did you find other forms of support?
Yes, I also consulted a therapist. At first I was skeptical, but it turned out to be one of the best decisions I've ever made. Having a space where I could talk without being judged helped me understand a lot about myself. It gave me tools to manage my emotions and rebuild my confidence. I also turned to online support groups where other women shared their experiences. Reading their stories gave me hope and reminded me that I wasn't the only one going through this.
That's so important, Amélie. Often people think that asking for help is a sign of weakness, but it's quite the opposite. It shows that you're strong enough to recognize that you need help and that you deserve to be supported.
Absolutely. And what I learned is that there's no single way to find support. For some, it's family. For others, it's friends, therapists, or even online communities. The key is not to stay alone with your pain.
For our viewers, if you're going through a tough time, don't hesitate to reach out to someone you trust. It could be a friend, a family member, or even a professional. Simply talking about what you're feeling can make a huge difference.
And don't forget that support can also come from small things. Sometimes a simple message from someone asking how you're doing can brighten your day. Don't be afraid to tell the people around you what you need. Most of the time they want to help but don't know how.
That's so true, and I think this message is universal. No one should have to go through a tough time alone. Thank you, Amélie, for your advice and testimony. You've shown that even in the darkest moments, the support of others can be a true light.
Thank you, Michael. And if I could add one thing, it's that simply accepting help is already a huge step toward healing.
The fourth step, Amélie, is focusing on growth. After a breakup, it can be difficult to see it as an opportunity, but sometimes these challenges allow us to discover new things about ourselves. How did you find a way to grow through this experience?
To be honest, at first, all I could see was the pain and emptiness. But over time, I started asking myself a simple question. What can I learn from this situation? And that's when I realized this challenge was also a chance to rediscover myself. I had become so lost in my roles as a partner and a mother that I had forgotten who I was as a person. So, I started with small things. I went back to activities I loved but had abandoned, like painting. Every time I picked up a brush, it felt like reconnecting with a part of me that I had left behind. I also began reading inspiring books that helped me see life from a different perspective. It was like relearning how to take care of my mind and soul.
Reconnecting with yourself is so important. Often in relationships, especially as a parent, we dedicate so much of ourselves to others that we forget our own passions and needs. What did those moments of painting or reading bring you?
Peace, but also confidence in myself. Every time I finished a painting or understood a new concept in a book, it was a small victory. These small victories reminded me that I was capable, that I could achieve things on my own. And that strengthened my determination to keep moving forward.
It's amazing how simple actions like painting or reading can be catalysts for a fresh start. For some, it might be learning a new skill or even changing careers. Did you consider other forms of growth?
Yes. After some time, I also started thinking about my career. I wanted my son to be proud of me, and that motivated me to pursue further training in my field to create new opportunities. But it wasn't just for him, it was also for me, to regain that sense of accomplishment and independence. Growth isn't just about learning or doing, though. It's also about rethinking our relationships. I took a step back to reflect on my old habits and what I truly wanted in a future relationship. This introspection helped me better understand my needs and boundaries.
That's such an essential part of personal growth, learning from our experiences to become stronger and more aligned with what we truly want for the future. Amélie, what advice would you give to someone trying to grow after a difficult time?
I would tell them to start by asking themselves this question. What truly makes me happy? It could be something small, like a hobby, or something bigger, like a life goal. Once you have an answer, take a step, even a tiny one, in that direction. Every step counts.
And if someone feels stuck, like they can't move forward, what would you say to them?
I'd tell them to remember that growth isn't always linear. Sometimes it feels like you're standing still or even moving backward, but that's part of the process. What matters is not how fast you move, but that you keep trying. And most importantly, be kind to yourself. Personal growth takes time and patience.
Thank you, Amélie. Your advice is invaluable. Growing after a breakup can feel impossible at first, but as you said, every small step matters. It's a journey that can ultimately lead us to a stronger and more authentic version of ourselves.
Thank you, Michael. And to our viewers, no matter where you are right now, know that growth is always possible, even in the darkest moments. You are capable of incredible things.
The final step, Amélie, is believing in new beginnings. After a breakup, it can be difficult to imagine a better future, but these moments of rupture are often opportunities to start fresh. How did you learn to believe in a new beginning?
I won't lie, Michael. At first it felt like everything had fallen apart. All I could see was what I had lost. But little by little, I began to understand that this ending was also a chance to build something new, something more aligned with the person I wanted to become. What helped me a lot was imagining the future. I asked myself, what kind of life do you want for yourself and your son? It didn't mean forgetting the past, but rather using what I had learned to move forward. I started writing down my dreams, even the simplest ones, like traveling with my son or developing my professional skills. Those dreams turned into goals, and those goals gave me a sense of purpose and direction.
Visualizing the future is so powerful. It's like turning on a light at the end of the tunnel. But for many people, after a breakup, that light can seem very far away. How did you find the strength to keep moving forward?
I focused on the present moment, one day at a time. Sometimes just getting up and taking care of my son felt like an accomplishment, and every small victory reminded me that I could move forward. What also helped me a lot was reminding myself that pain isn't permanent. Even if today is hard, tomorrow can be different. Another key element for me was practicing gratitude for what I still had. For example, even though my relationship had ended, I had my son, my health, and the support of my family. These things gave me a solid foundation to rebuild my life.
I find that inspiring, Amélie. Gratitude and a vision for the future can truly transform how we perceive a challenge. But do you think these new beginnings rely solely on us, or are there other factors at play?
It's a mix of both. I firmly believe that we have the power to change our lives, but I also believe that time and opportunities play a role. What I've learned is that patience is crucial. Sometimes things don't go the way we want, but that doesn't mean a new beginning isn't possible. Often, unexpected opportunities arise when we're open to change.
And these opportunities, how can we recognize and seize them?
I think you first have to be ready to say yes. Say yes to new experiences, even if they scare you a little. For me, that meant stepping out of my comfort zone. For example, I accepted a new job that seemed intimidating at first, but it turned out to be a key step for me. It allowed me to regain confidence in myself and believe in my abilities again.
You're a wonderful example of resilience, Amélie. New beginnings don't mean the path will always be easy, but they show that there's always a chance to find happiness and meaning, even after the toughest challenges. What would you say to our viewers who are still hesitant to believe in their own new beginning?
I would tell them that no matter how dark their situation seems right now, they have the ability to create a life that feels right for them. It won't happen overnight, and it won't always be easy. But every step, no matter how small, brings them closer to a better future. Trust in your strength, and remember that every ending is a new beginning. You deserve this renewal.
Thank you, Amélie. Your words are full of wisdom and comfort. Believing in new beginnings is above all about believing in yourself and your potential. It's a message of hope that we want to share with all our viewers today.
Thank you, Michael. And to those watching, no matter where you are today, know that you are capable of building a bright future. Take it one day at a time and trust yourself. You are not alone.
Amélie, thank you so much for your deeply touching and inspiring testimony. Today, we explored 5 essential steps to overcome a breakup: accepting your emotions, taking care of yourself, surrounding yourself with support, focusing on growth, and believing in new beginnings. These steps aren't always easy, but they are the foundation for moving forward.
Thank you, Michael. I'm truly grateful to have had the chance to share my story. If I could leave our viewers with one key message, it would be this: even in the darkest moments, there is always a light. It might be faint at first, but it will grow with time and effort.
And remember, you are not alone in this journey. It's okay to ask for help, to take breaks, and to move at your own pace. Every step, no matter how small, counts. To those going through a breakup right now, be gentle with yourselves and don't lose sight of the fact that this time can also be an opportunity for renewal.
And above all, trust yourself. You are stronger than you think, and you deserve a life filled with happiness and peace. Give yourself the time to heal and grow.
Thank you again, Amélie, for these words of hope. To our viewers, we hope this episode has provided you with support and tools to move forward. Share your experiences and thoughts in the comments, and if this episode has helped you, consider sharing it with someone who might need it.
Thank you all for listening. Take care of yourselves, believe in your abilities, and never forget that a new beginning is always possible.
Thank you for watching Learn English Through Life. We're here to support you every step of the way. See you soon for another episode, and until then, take care.